So without divulging private information, you've been in this business a long time. I know you've probably got at least one interesting story that you could share about like a crazy underwriter, crazy borrower, crazy profile, whatever it might be. Just something interesting. What would you say?
The one that comes to mind almost immediately, and to your point, there's hundreds. It's like making me pick my favorite child. One that comes to mind that was one of the trickiest ones. I was working for a big bank in New York, and a very well-known former baseball player came in. And
like walked in?
Actually physically walked into the bank, to the branch. And when he explained the situation, they're like, we can't help you. We need you to talk to this guy. So got ushered up to my office. Anyway, when he left baseball, he was on these extended contracts that continued to pay him years after he played. So he was still at the tail end of these multi-million-dollar contracts, dropping money in his lap, and hadn't picked up a bat or a glove in 5 years. Anyway, post-baseball, he had got successfully involved with some real estate developers, and they began buying up high-rise apartment buildings that were in disrepair. Mm-hmm. And they would form an LLC for each building, each individual address. They would take the building from a bombed-out hole. They would completely rehab it. They would fill it with Section 8 subsidized rentals. Mm-hmm. And then when this investment was upright, it was full of paying tenants, they would present that as a turnkey rental opportunity for an investor that didn't want to get their hands dirty with the rehab process and the rental process. And the numbers were astounding. Each building could be acquired for 10, rehab for 5, held for another 5, and sold for 30.
Wow.
In the month, the reason I came to Pass to even talk to this gentleman is he was looking for a mortgage for his own home.
Gotcha.
He was moving his family away from the city and out where he had grown up, buying a beautiful home, going through the traditional mortgage process, and confronted with the type of things that the traditional mortgage process slaps in your face, which is, I need 2 years of tax returns on all your businesses.
Right.
At that time, the moment that I met him, he had 60 of these buildings in the pipeline.
Wow.
About 10 to 15 that were in the acquisition phase.
Were these each LLCs or corporations?
Every single building was a single LLC.
Wow.
He had 60 LLCs.
So it's a light dock deal.
It was presented as a full doc, double year, because that's the only type of things that big nasty bank did.
Yep.
And he was.
And this is probably back in the day when you had like physical files on your desk. Yeah.
It was digital. This is only a few years ago, but the idea of a single underwriter tearing through all 60 for both years, coming up with cash flows for a situation where every building was on some different level of spectrum of completion to just bought the building yesterday.
Yeah.
Got it rehab but not rented, fully rented and on the market, or sold. Mm-hmm. But this process of grinding these buildings through this process, so they get so good at it, it was like printing money. In the 2 or 3 times that I met to get some documents, ask some questions, clarify, this gentleman brought in multi-million-dollar settlement checks from buildings that had successfully closed, and he's just depositing them in the checking.
He's like, here's another one?
Absolutely. But anyway, the solution for us was to leverage the portfolio power and isolate, balance off the LLC's cash flow. So we actually ended up cash flowing all these buildings, but did it at a K1 level, added back the millions of dollars of depreciation on all these buildings to show that this man didn't lose $10 million last year.
Like it says on his returns.
Yeah,
but
he actually made $30 million and didn't pay taxes on any of it. So
it sounds like a good model.
Presenting it the right way, understanding those cash flows, knowing what we could add back, where the paper losses were, knowing what we could do with those loans, we were able to prove that he was an extraordinarily wealthy person, a very good risk for the loan, and we were able to get him closed on his new purchase on time. And last time I spoke with him, he was wildly happy and still very grateful.
That's cool. Were you a fan too?
Had never met the person or had followed his career.
Yeah.
But at the tail end, got him to actually autograph a couple baseballs for the guys on our exception desk.
Nice.
That said, thanks for getting me home.
Oh, that's cool. That's great. So, these kind of deals are obviously different, and there's makes sense approach to them. But like, how does it differ?